Over the past few months, I've heard Eddie Hearn repeatedly claim that his promotional company, Matchroom, and his broadcast partner, DAZN, have a good relationship with Bob Arum, Top Rank, and ESPN. But I always took those comments from Eddie Hearn with a pinch of salt. And I'm assuming the reason he made those comments was because of the fact that the head honcho at DAZN, John Skipper, used to be the head honcho at ESPN in the not too distant past. But things change. And I was never convinced that it was all so pally-pally between Matchroom DAZN and Top Rank ESPN, because this is business. And it is cutthroat, particularly in a place like America, is cutthroat in the world of business, especially at this level. And we now have evidence of exactly how cutthroat it is, because Bob Arum has come out and made a public play for the signature of Anthony Joshua. And he has simultaneously trashed DAZN at the same time. Let me quote Bob Arum directly here. He says, "Joshua is completely isolated because he has in effect been captured and rolled into this DAZN arrangement. This frankly inhibits his ability to make major fights and his ability to really become a factor. He's fighting in the US against Miller, but it's on DAZN. Nobody has DAZN. I think Joshua has been used. Joshua and his people should wake up and really join the world. He should finish up his contract with Hearn and join us. It makes no sense to continue placing his fights on DAZN. It makes no sense to deprive him of pay-per-view. If he fights in the UK, he can't turn that into pay-per-view dollars in the United States. That's because of the difference in time." So those are the words of Bob Arum. Now, does Bob Arum have a point? Well, let's examine it. First of all, he talks about Anthony Joshua being isolated. I don't necessarily think he has been isolated, because Deontay Wilder is with Showtime, doesn't have a long-term contract with them as far as I'm aware at the moment, but there may be imminent announcements on that. But he's with Showtime, Fox, PBC, etc., Al Heyman. Then you've got Tyson Fury, who's with ESPN, Top Rank, Bob Arum. Then you've got Anthony Joshua with DAZN. So I don't think Anthony Joshua is any more isolated than Tyson Fury is on ESPN, or Deontay Wilder is with Al Heyman on Showtime or Fox. So on that particular point, I can't agree with Bob Arum. And he talks about it inhibits AJ's ability to make major fights. Again, I have to disagree. It says here he's fighting in the US against Miller on DAZN, but nobody has DAZN. It's definitely fair to say, or at least fair to assume, that ESPN certainly has way bigger audience than DAZN has at this point. ESPN Plus, I'm sure, has far more subscribers than DAZN. I'm sure it's not even close. So that there is a fair point. Then he goes on to say that Joshua has been used and Joshua should join us. Everybody, not everybody, but most people are used to some degree or another in business, particularly in something like boxing. Who's not being used? Is Tyson Fury not being used to some degree by Top Rank? I mean, you're dealing with semantics at the end of the day, how you want to interpret words, but you know, everybody's been used. It's whether they are adequately compensated for being used in whatever instance. He then says it makes no sense to deprive AJ of pay-per-view. Well, again, this comes down to how much money DAZN are willing to pay in rights fees, opposed to how much money AJ could make fighting on pay-per-view on Showtime or on ESPN. It's a very tough market in the United States, a very tough pay-per-view market. And AJ is getting paid more to fight Jarrell Miller on DAZN. And that's a show which I'm assuming is going to lose money, but DAZN is still paying him more to fight Jarrell Miller than Showtime pay-per-view paid Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury combined to fight each other. So is AJ being deprived when DAZN are paying out these huge rights fees? At the moment, I would say no. Okay, but how long can DAZN continue paying these kind of rights fees out for Anthony Joshua? That is a good question. Because they're a business. At the end of the day, they want to make a profit. And if their AJ shows keep losing money, they're surely going to lose the impetus, the incentive to keep paying him these crazy purses. When their subscriber numbers in the United States can't justify paying out these kind of purses because they're paying enormous amounts of money to multiple different fighters at the moment, to the Canelos, to the Golovkins, the AJs, obviously. How long can that last with DAZN? Their business model needs to work, needs to start turning a profit, needs to start, having a massive increase in subscriber numbers. This is what they need. So there is an open question there in terms of, in the long term, will DAZN still be willing to pay enormous rights fees for Anthony Joshua fights? That's a good question. And we don't know. Time will tell. Because ultimately, if AJ's looking to fight Deontay Wilder on DAZN, yeah, DAZN have been offering Deontay Wilder, $40 million a fight for, against AJ. So $80 million in a 2-fight deal. But will they still be offering Deontay Wilder that kind of money to fight AJ a year from now? We don't know where DAZN's business is going to be at a year from now. So there is some uncertainty there. But when it comes to pay-per-view, even though it is terrible, terrible value for money in the United States, $75 for one night of boxing, terrible value for money, it is a tried and tested method. And it is shown that you can generate for the right fight a lot of money on pay-per-view, even though the audiences are not particularly big. Because you're charging so much money, you can still line the fighters' pockets and the promoters' pockets, the networks' pockets, etc. So if an AJ versus Wilder was promoted the right way, maybe it could do well on pay-per-view. But would it do better than DAZN? Like I say, I'm repeating myself. It depends on how DAZN do as a business over the next year or so. Maybe they'll be doing well enough with the acquisitions of Canelo, Golovkin, etc. Maybe they would have built up their subscriber numbers sufficiently to justify paying out crazy money for AJ versus Wilder, more than they potentially could get on pay-per-view on ESPN or Showtime. But it does have to be said that the reach of ESPN in terms of the viewership is very, very big. But again, they're relying on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, as Eddie Hearn has spoken about many times, is always a gamble. Whereas DAZN are guaranteeing you money. They're not gambling. They're not saying, come and fight on pay-per-view on our network and we're estimating that you're going to make this kind of money. No. They're not doing that. They're saying, come and fight on our network and we guarantee you this amount. We're not estimating what we think it's going to do on pay-per-view. We're guaranteeing you. So there's no gamble when it comes to DAZN with regards to, signing to fight on their network. They're guaranteeing you the money from the jump. But it's whether that guarantee can match the potential speculative numbers that pay-per-view might be able to deliver on other networks. But anyway, back to the original point. These two guys, sat next to each other looking all pally-pally. I don't think they'll be so pally-pally now. I'm sure Eddie Hearn, cracked a wry smile when he heard these comments from Bob Arum saying AJ should leave Matchroom and join Top Rank. Should fight on ESPN, making a strong play for AJ's signature. And hey, he's got every right to do that. saying he should finish up his contract. He obviously wants to control the heavyweight division as all the promoters do. And at the end of the day, AJ should do what's best for his career, what he feels is best. If that means leaving Eddie Hearn and joining Top Rank, then he should do that. You know, I'm not somebody who wants fighters to stay with particular promoters for their whole career and loyalty. I don't believe in any of that. A fighter's career in terms of the years in which they're able to make life-changing sums of money is very short. And so to hell with loyalties to promoters, trainers, managers, advisors, and all that kind of stuff. To hell with all that. Those guys are still going to have a career once your career is finished as a fighter. They're still going to be making money. They're still going to be bringing for a new crop of fighters who they're taking a percentage from. And all of a sudden, they're not going to give a damn about you because you ain't making them no more money. So as a fighter, you have to be selfish. You can't allow promoters, whether it's Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, whether it's advisors like Al Heyman, managers like Shelley, you can't allow these kind of people to play the loyalty card with you. You can't do that. It's business. They exploit you. You know, when Bob Arum talks about Anthony Joshua being used, well, you know, all promoters use fighters to some degree or another. And because of that, as a fighter, you're the one taking the biggest risk because you're risking your health. Your health is your wealth. If you end up like, God forbid, a Gerald McClellan, there's no amount of money in the world that can compensate for the injuries you suffered. You understand? Your health is your wealth. The fighter is always the one taking the biggest risk because he's gambling with his life. He's not gambling with money that he can recoup. He's not a rich, generationally wealthy individual like a Bob Arum or an Eddie Hearn. No, these are generally people from poor backgrounds who have a very small window of opportunity to make life-changing sums of money, and they are gambling with their lives in order to make that money. They're gambling with their health. In that situation, you cannot have any loyalty. If you're sensible, you can't have any loyalty to any promoters, networks, advisors, or anything like that. I understand there's a lot of people loyal to Al Heyman because they feel like he looks after them. But if a different promoter can make you more money or look after you better, it doesn't mean you have to leave Al Heyman on bad terms. But, you can say to him, look, it's been great. It's been emotional, but I have to move on and do what's best for my career financially. And even though you've been good to me, there's somebody else who can pay me even more. And I've got a very small window of opportunity to make this kind of money. Is what it is. It's business. Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section below about Bob Arum making a play for Anthony Joshua's signature. Should Anthony Joshua entertain Bob Arum? Should he leave Eddie Hearn? Is DAZN ultimately going to hold him back in the United States? Or is it too early to say? Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.